pick in the NFL draft.
Good evening and welcome to the Franchise Tag Podcast with me, your host, Freddie Hall. Different intro there. You may have seen it before on some of our draft shows, but don't worry. It's the best mock draft you're going to see. It's the best mock draft you're going to see. We've said it already. We've had the know-it-alls. We've had the analysts. We've had the geniuses of the NFL world do their mock drafts. But now it is our turn. I will be picking Andrew, Sky, Adam. We'll be all doing picks tonight. I think it's important for us to note that we are going to do, it's going to be a round robin. So myself, then it'll be Andrew, Sky, then Adam. We are doing no trades, but we will talk about if we do think the teams will trade out of that pick. And we are focusing on what we think the team will do. This isn't what we think maybe. It's what we think the team will do on the night. I mean, we're only days away until the actual draft. We've just been debating amongst ourselves about whether we're going to stay up for it or not. But, we'll see on the night, maybe into the Friday morning. Before we do start, though, big day for NFL UK, linking up with Ireland. It is now NFL UK and Ireland. For that, I've got down for my pick, my Steelers Ireland terrible towel, which I'm very happy to I got for my birthday. So welcome Ireland to the fray. Congratulations to the guys there that are now sort of like officially been linked with NFL UK. And like them guys over there are doing a fantastic job of promoting the game. And obviously a lot of Irish players have gone into the international pathway this year as well. So fantastic for the sport and fantastic for the NFL, UK and Ireland in totality. But let me carry on. Let me not speak about that anymore. Let's get right into the dirty business, right into the draft. I am on the clock. Andrew, if you'd like to get PFF up for us. So we've been using the PFF mock simulator. It's one of the best ones out there on the market. If you guys are anyone's interested in doing mocks as well, please feel free to comment on this video as we're doing this. It may go a little longer than usual, but we might as well kick off. So the number one pick is myself, and that is the Chicago Bears. And I'm not going to stick too long on this. It's Caleb Williams straight away, the quarterback from USC. They're going to get their quarterback now for the next 10, 15 years. The next Patrick Mahomes, some are saying. I'm not going to go too much in detail. This is the obvious pick. This is going to happen. No way are these guys coming off the pot at the number one pick. So we'll move on to the second pick, the Washington Commanders, which lies with Andrew.
Yeah, we've got the Washington Commanders, who I think are going to take the player that's probably plug and play. He's a little bit ready straight off the bat, rather than the guy that's probably got the higher ceiling. So I think they're going to go for Jaden Daniels from LSU. Like I said, I think he can a bit more versatile, plug and play. I think Drake May, although I think he's very, very talented, got a very high ceiling. He needs a little bit of time to maybe adjust to the NFL. So I'm going with Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels straight there. And when I was doing the who's going to pick what, I don't think it's very often where we actually get our own teams, but Sky is going to have the pleasure of picking for one of his teams. You don't have the Dallas Cowboys one down the board, I don't think, Sky. I think I hold that one, maybe.
I need to get away from this narrative of me having more than one team for it. Everyone just calls me out for it. But no, thank you for giving me the Patriots, and thank you, Andrew, as well for not doing what happened in the People's Draft and taking Drake May, because that's who I think the Patriots will take. I know, completely agree with what Andrew said, that he may not be, immediately coming in to plug in as a starter, but he can learn under Jacoby Brissett. I just sort of think that here the Patriots have to take a quarterback, and in the long run with his ceiling, he can elevate receivers around him, steps up in the pocket. Great arm talent. I spoke about his numbers last week when we went through that last week's show. So, yeah, quite simply, Mayo and May in New England, baby.
Mayo and May in New England. New dawn, a new day in New England for the Patriots with their new quarterback for the future. On we go to the Arizona Cardinals. Adam at 4.
Yeah, I know we've spoken about the fact that this is an obvious trade back position. However, I've sort of flip-flopped a bit about it. I actually think they're probably going to stick with the talent, and I think they're going to go for Marvin Harrison. They need a stud wide receiver. They need lots of things, but they do need a stud wide receiver. And I think Harrison is just a little bit better than some of the other wide receivers in this class. So for me, I think Cardinals will be taking Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, we've said they're prime candidate because they've said they're willing to trade, but they've kind of outpriced everybody and said they want 3 first. So I think it's clear that they're like, yeah, we'll trade if you give us everything, but we're happy sticking with Marvin Harrison.
Okay, it's on to number 5 for me in the LA Chargers. I am torn on this pick. We are also, I suppose, going to help negotiate with each other a little bit on this as well. For me, it's either Malik Neighbors or Brock Bowers here. They need wide receiver. They need a threat. My only thing is because Harbour has taken the job, it's going to be more run heavy. I think he's going to utilize the tight end more, but they just don't have anyone at wide receiver. What are your guys' feelings on this? I really want to go Malik Neighbors, but I think Bowers makes a bit more sense under the Harbaugh regime. Andrew, you have a bit more knowledge of him in college and his previous NFL head coaching career. What do you think he's going to be more favouring here?
Yeah, well, it probably would favour more him taking O-line or tight end, just because that kind of sits with his sort of set that he's going to play with the running back and solid up that line. I think that's more what he would take. So I think there is potential they could go O-line, but wide receiver is a must for them, and there is the player there. I just think this is prime candidate to move down with the Vikings, really. This is the trade spot. You get 11 and 23, and I think with that, you can get O-line and wide receiver, or maybe even Bowers and O-line as well, if you move down. So I think they are literally will be willing to say, look, we'll take 2 firsts, nothing else. Let's move down and get the picks and shore up that line and be good in the trenches. So that's my thoughts.
I think you're right. This is a very obvious trade spot. I mean, the Vikings have been the ones as rumored there, and I think that it may happen on the night. I am going to take Malik Neighbors, the wide receiver out of LSU. I think they just don't have anybody there at wide receiver, and I think they would be incredibly unwise. I think as an organization, yes, you brought Harbaugh in, but you've still got to recognize that Herbert's going to need somebody to throw the ball to. They're going to have to use his arm. This is not JJ McCarthy. He's got him with Michigan, which the arm is incomparable to Josh Herbert. I think he's going to use them strength. So I'm going to go for Malik Neighbors. Tough one though. Andrew, you do get your New York Giants, which I didn't realize. So on to you, and who are you going to pick for them?
Yeah, I can't. There's so many rumors about us moving up, about us wanting a quarterback, about it being Drake May that we want. Lots of people also rumoring JJ McCarthy as well. But I think, you don't need to move up for that. You could probably just stick, I don't like the idea of a team that's got lots of holes, giving up loads of capital to move up 1 or 2 spaces or 3 spaces if it's with the Patriots. I think, you're going to probably have to give up a lot of future picks just to move up a couple of spaces. I don't think that's sensible. So I think, wide receiver is the biggest need for us. Daniel Jones is not the 33rd worst quarterback in the league. So, he can play, he can distribute just about for a year. So let's get Adunze first, and then we'll address that next year and see what we can get. Maybe there'll be a free agent on the market. Maybe we're that bad again and we've got a good pick and we get one of the guys next year. But I think Rome Odunze fits his style that we haven't got. He's big-bodied. He's be able to be a threat downfield, big taller than everybody else we've got. So I'm going to go with Rome Odunze.
But for us, just for us, can you please take JJ McCarthy just for the banter?
What do you mean?
Please.
When you're going to have Dak Prescott throwing in the ball next year, it's fine. It's okay. It's going to be all good. It's all going to be a merry-go-round of talent in that NFC NFC East like it has been this year. Number 7 Titans is Sky on the clock with the Tennessee Titans. What are you looking at here, Sky?
I think this is probably the easiest pick that any of us will make, so I should thank you for that. I've also
easier than mine. Easier than mine, really.
Well, I wrote Neighbours or Bowers down for you, and I wrote Odunze for Andrew, so I've been quite happy with that. But I just think that Joel has got the potential to be a Hall of Famer at this position on the O-line. He's just so good. I mean, even me and Adam spoke about a couple of weeks ago, and I'm probably stealing his thing. He could correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we spoke about potentially him being the best player in the draft, considering his talent. The Titans, obviously, with Brian Callahan, there's talks now about them being a lot more pass heavy, and we know they need to address the O-line. And I think the thing that speaks to me mostly about Joe Alt that people don't mention, everyone talks about Marvin Harrison and his dad. I mean, John Alt was also a 2-time Pro Bowler. So, this is a guy who's got that stock, he's got it in his blood, and he just seems to, I know this O-line, the more respect to Andrew, there is talent there. he's just that bit better than everyone else from what I've seen on the tape. So I think this is a no-brainer here that the Titans go with Alt.
Do you think there's a possibility that they could trade down? You know, the quarterback needy teams at 11, 12, 13, you move back down to sort of 12, maybe, then, you know, you pick up some of those picks you lost for Will Levis and Snead, and you probably still get Joe Alt or Olu Fashanu at that point, don't you? So could be interesting.
Who for?
Well, for a quarterback, like what are the quarterbacks?
What are you trading up for now? Realistically, you know, because the thing is, you've already mentioned about
you could have the Broncos, the Raiders, or the Saints trading up to go get a quarterback in that spot.
Yeah, but if the Chargers have already traded down to take JJ McCarthy, which we feel like is not necessarily a done deal, but it's pretty close. We feel there's been a lot of talk about that and the Vikings being pretty close. Who's like? What are you trading up for? You've got Penix and you've got Nix. You don't need to trade up, do you?
Yeah, but it's if one of them really wants one of those guys. If someone really wants offensive line, they might move. I just think the picks for the Titans would be nice. I just think they are a candidate. We said it's a sure pick and it is Alt. You know, they might as well stay there and take him. But I'm just thinking they can still get an elite tackle in the middle of the draft as well, just because of the depth of it, if that's what they want. And they gave up a few pieces for Levis and Snead in the offseason. So that was just my thought process.
No, I agree. I think Falcons or even Jets, I know people always think you won't move up for O-line because it's not pretty, but if either of those teams were sold on them, especially the Jets.
The Steelers did last year for Broderick Jones. You know, we went and took that. Number 8, the Atlanta Falcons. Adam, over to you.
Yeah, I don't think they trade. I think they stay at this pick, and Dallas Turner's on the board, first defensive player. Turner makes a lot of sense. At college, he spent loads of times going back into coverage. It's exactly what Raheem Morris wants to do with the Falcons defense. So I think it's a bit of a no-brainer, that one. So yeah, Dallas Turner for me.
Dallas Turner. I am going to follow you with that same thinking onto the Bears pick at number 9. It's going to be back-to-back edge rushers defensive linemen off the board. I'm going to go with Jared Verse from Florida State. I think it was Joel Klatt's most recent mock where there was a situation where Joe Alt fell to the Bears. Like, I love that. I think if that situation happened where Joe Alt falls to them, I think they would take him there. I think that would be a marriage made in heaven, getting their tackle of the future with their quarterback of the future, and that synergy there for a long time would be really, really great. But again, it's a team that has holes. I mean, they went and strengthened in areas in the offseason. They traded him for Montez Sweat. I think getting someone to tandem with Montez Sweat in a player like Jared Verse, who's really versatile and a heck of an athlete, it's going to be magic for them. And I was very tempted by defensive tackle. Byron Murphy was something I played around with a little bit. But I'm going to go with Verse here. Sorry, and then we have on to number 10, the Jets, with Andrew.
I was just locking in Verse for you. But I've flipped and flopped with this pick a few times. I know me and Adam have spoke about it quite a bit. I think they definitely need help on that O-line. If they're all in, which you've got to imagine they are with the age of all of their team and all of the pieces they've brought in. They've got 2 guys on the O-line, the boy Morgan Moses and Smith, who both get injured, who are both in their 30s. And we've said, if you get down to sort of November, December time, you might need depth at that position, especially if they're aging. So with the 10th pick, I think O-line is definitely a must need. Brock Bowers is still on the
as soon as you were thinking, I was like, his name's right at the top of the board.
Yeah, if Brock Bowers is there, can we see them passing on him when they don't have a high-end tight end? And me and Adam have spoke about tight end being a key position to make a run and win the Super Bowl. If you look at the past 10 Super Bowl winners have all had good tight ends or strong over the middle. So what do you guys think? Do you think they can pass on Bowers, or do you think that O-line is just too much for them? They need to address it now.
I don't think you can pass on them. I think we spoke about it last week as well, didn't we? They were one of the teams that we were most intrigued by when you and Fred did last week's show. And I just think Bowers just seems to be so versatile. And yeah, you just look at his tape. I don't want to repeat everything I said last week. He just seems like he's going to be an elite tight end and just be, top 5 for years to come. And I think while you've got Aaron Rodgers, and obviously they hope that he'll recover from that season-ending injury, you might as well just, how good the defense is, how good Robert Saleh's been on that side of the ball. You just have to buy into the thought process that they're going to be just as good there. So you need to get it done on offense now. So why would you not add another elite playmaker there for Rodgers?
Adam, what's your thoughts?
I think you go O-line. I think you keep Rodgers upright. I think Rodgers doesn't like receivers. That's a definite thing. As great as Brock Bowers is, them guys that they brought in to go on the O-line in free agency, they're not going to make it through a whole season. There's no way. So you need to bring in someone who's a bit younger, I think, and just to help with that. There's loads of really good O-line talent. And the other thing is that if you really want to get a weapon for Aaron Rodgers, it doesn't have to be tight end. It can be another wide receiver, and you can do it later on in the draft.
Yeah, he might like a Theo Jones later on in the draft. They haven't got a second. Have they got? Am I right in saying they haven't got a second round pick? Have you got it, Adam? If the Packers
yes, we've got their second round pick. Yeah.
No, I was thinking if they went Bowers here, you'd still get a strong tackle in the second round. But if they haven't got that, you're looking at the third round.
72 they are, Andrew, in the third, and then 2 fourths.
So the quality of tackle in the third round is probably dropped off quite a bit from what they can get now.
But I would argue you could still get yourself a fairly solid wide receiver or tight end in the third round. Just obviously not Brock Bowers, but still a solid person. So
yeah, that's what I'm trying to weigh up. I think you can't get quality at tackle maybe there. Maybe Rosengarten's still there at that point. I think they go boring. I think they have to. If Rodgers gets injured, what's plan B? What is plan B? That's everyone's getting fired. I think.
Well, that's plan B. Everyone gets fired.
Well, it is, isn't it? If you don't shore up that O-line and make
that's not a good plan B.
Well, I think that's what it's going to be if they don't do something there.
Right, let's get it locked in, Andrew. Which one is it? It's going to be Fashanu, Fantano, or Fuaga?
I feel like Fuaga fits them better, but Fashanu has more upside and can play right tackle if they need him to. I'm going to take Fashanu, despite Adams probably want me to take Fuaga.
Okie dokie. Right, number 11, on to the Vikings. Sky, your pick.
I think in the real world, we all sort of know the Vikings probably won't be here when it's about 1:30 on Thursday or 2, getting near to the past 2 a.m.
Don't you think this mock here proves that they don't actually have to?
Yeah, I completely agree. And actually, obviously, we probably all done it, but I went through early and was guessing everyone's picks because we didn't know before the show. And I was thinking that would be the perfect scenario for them, right? You don't have to give any assets up. You give up the guy.
You do, don't you? Because the Broncos or the Raiders will just move up to 9 or 10.
Not if they're not convinced, though. Not if they're not convinced by JJ McCarthy.
Yeah.
But I would say in this scenario, obviously, it'll be McCarthy. I think just speaking about him, I know everyone's he's obviously been a lot of buzz around McCarthy, but I think, given what considering the coaching that he's had in Michigan, he would just fit in well with O'Connell's offense. And we've all spoken about the weapons they have, for any rookie to come in and have Jefferson, Addison, Aaron Jones coming over from the Packers at running back, Hawkinson. I think that McCarthy, as much as he differs opinion, I mean, he just feels like Marmite to me at the moment. Everyone just loves or hates him. But I think from what I've seen, he has enough athleticism and arm talent in this scheme to be a success. And he wouldn't need to, again, I don't think enough people spoke about that. He wouldn't need to start day one. They've got Darnold. So that could also benefit him too. Like if he went to the Giants, I know we joked, that's just not going to happen. Like I feel like set him up for a very short NFL career. So for his sake, I hope he ends up in Minnesota, whatever pick that may be. So yeah, let's go JJ.
What have you seen Genuinely, what have you seen of this guy?
I think he's just one of the.
I've seen him pass it to the running back a lot. I'll give him that.
I don't like this narrative around that he hasn't passed it a lot in college, because there would be plenty of experts out there, if we go back through the years, who would say, oh, this person's thrown too much. There's too much wear and tear on them in college. I think, the record that he has winning and then ending on a championship has been enough for a lot of quarterbacks to get picked higher than they should have gone. And I think the running aspect of him as a quarterback is not talked about enough. He can get it done on the ground. It's just not as pretty or playmakery as a Lamar Jackson or Daniels. And that's the same with Drake May. People don't talk about that either, and his athleticism. So I think to succeed in the NFL, he has some intangibles which can be nursed by an O'Connell. If it was a different coach, I'd be saying something different. But I think in Minnesota, it can work.
It's the only place it will succeed for him out of the teams that need quarterbacks.
Where I'm at,
Are we going to see back-to-back quarterbacks here at number 12 with the Denver Broncos with Adam?
I don't know. I'm going to open this up. I'm going to open this up to the group think here, because they've done something a bit mental and gone and traded for Zach Wilson, which is a bizarre thing to do at this point. So they now have 3 quarterbacks on that team. None of them are starter caliber. So I don't really know what they're going to do, because the other problem with them is they are a bit of a blank canvas as well. You could pretty much go anywhere with this team. So I'm at a bit of a loss. I think they might not go quarterback, and that they go quarterback later on. But I'm willing to open it up to the group.
I think they still go quarterback. I think they brought Zach Wilson in as a backup plan of what happens if the likes of maybe the Seahawks or the Rams or something move up for one of the guys that they want, and they're left there going, oh no, we haven't got anyone now. So it's like maybe a backup plan, just in case. So I think they still go Bo Nix here.
I have to agree. I think though they trade for Zach Wilson, they have Zach Wilson, Jarrett Stidham, and Ben DiNucci on the roster. I think by the time it gets down to roster cutting season, you might not have DiNucci there. You might not have Stidham there anymore. I think you keep
Stidham and get rid of Wilson.
Well, yeah, there is that potential. I mean, he's only cost you a 7th round pick. It's not the end of the world, but yeah, I just can't see them. I just can't see this not happening. I can't see it's not happening.
Last week I was sold on Bo Nix going there, but I'm just going to throw some clickbait up. I think that Sean Payton is just sold on being this quarterback guru, right? And I think Drew Brees, as good as he was at the Chargers before he went to the Saints, there was question marks of whether he can make it in the league. And obviously that's all around Zach Wilson at the moment. So has this happened for Sean Payton to basically be like, I'm going to turn him into the guy which everyone talked about when he was drafted? I feel like in a way I would love that in a way, just in case it goes wrong. And then it would just be funny because I don't really like the Broncos. But also maybe. But yeah, I guess if I didn't go quarterback here, I mean, can't really think of any immediate pressing needs. So
probably be edge, wouldn't it, with the talent that's still left?
Okay, we'll go Bo Nix then.
Of course, that probably helps all of our agendas as well as we move on to number 13 with the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, I had at the beginning of this Olu Fashanu or another player. Obviously, Fashanu has now been taken away from me. I think the Raiders here, there's loads of rumor they're going to take quarterback. I do not think they do that. I think O'Connell looks really good at the end of last year, and I think Gardner Minshew is a decent starter in this league. I think when you see how the boards fell here, and I think it might fall like this on the night, and the best cornerback is still on the board in Quinion Mitchell, I think you're going to take him. I think they're quite weak at cornerback. I think when you've got Patrick Mahomes in this league, in this division, you're going to be wanting to solidify there. He comes from a small school in Toledo, and when you look at the last guy that did that in Sauce Gardner, and how he's become incredible in this league straight away, and that Mitchell shares a few of the similar traits as Sauce Gardner. I think you take, when no corner's gone off the board yet, you've got the best one falling to you at 13 in this draft. I think you're going to take him.
Okay. Well, I generally thought it was going to be O-line. I was lining up O-line.
Yeah.
Really? Well, we'll move on to yours. Your number 14 Saints here, Andrew. So,
Hang on.
do you guys like the pick? Do you think that's a
You've
good?
baffled him. You've
I
confused
like
him now.
it. I'm upset because I had him for the Colts and I had a big spiel about how good he is, but you said it all.
I just think they're not weak. If I quickly get their depth chart up, I don't think
They've got no one on the right side, have they? They've got left tackle and left guard, and no one on the right.
I was thinking Fuaga for the Raiders.
I thought what?
I know, but they've got Colton Miller, Cody White,
Fuanga,
Andre James,
Fuanga.
Dylan Parham, and then they've got Isaiah Munford at right tackle, who's not anyone of all that. And then at corner you've got Jack Jones, Jacorian Bennett, Sam Webb, Brandon Faison, Nate Hobbs. I mean, I just think when you've got Mahomes in your division, you've got Max Crosby to shut him down, and you've got someone stopping over the top.
I think they can get Kamari Lassiter or Mike Sainer-Strill or something like that in the second. I think might be 13, might be a bit early for them at cornerback, but hey ho, that's your pick. Have you seen lots of people take corner here, Fred? Have many of the mocks had it?
A few, not loads. A few. It's mostly been O-line, a few quarterbacks. I think there's been a few more being more corner recently because I think people are starting to not think that the Raiders are going to consider a quarterback or trade up. But I just think when you're in division with Patrick Mahomes, you've got to find ways of stopping him. He's the best corner in this class by some people's, other than maybe Terry and Arnold. I think it's worth a risk here.
Adam would argue Cooper DeJean's the best.
Cooper DeJean is the best. How dare you try and slander his name?
Well, let's move on to 14 and the Saints, Andrew. Where are they? Which direction?
Oh, I've got the Saints, have I? Lovely.
Yeah.
Say that again with enthusiasm.
Well, no, that's fine because I think they need help on the O-line as well. I think they need help on the O-line and the D-line. So it's tough because Byron Murphy's still there. But I think you can get D-line later on, and there is quality. And when Fred's left me Fuaga on there, I can't say no. I think they definitely need help on the O-line. So you guys agree with that as well, that O-line might be this pick here?
Yeah.
I think it's O-line or D-line.
Mm-hmm.
It's really just, I think you've got a few teams coming up where it's a bit O-line, D-line. That's what it is. So yeah, I think it's makes sense.
I keep seeing him or Fashion who's swapping rounds pretty much in every mock I've looked at this week and over the weekend. So yeah, I agree.
Right, we'll move on to number 15, the Indianapolis Colts with Sky.
Now,
you're not going Quinion Mitchell. We know that.
As much as you said Mitchell, I had a plan B ready, and and this is the thing that pains me because now that we're doing this mock, I think wouldn't be surprised if this happens and Brock Bowers does fall to the Colts. And that means, they're a team that has struggled at tight end. I mean, I was actually trying to think of their best tight end I could think of in recent years is like a Kobe Fleener when Andrew Luck was there.
Man, Eric Ebron for that one season.
Yeah, and Mo Ali Cox will get a touchdown every now and then. Like I feel like Bowers for them.
Mate, Mo Ali Cox is the king of fantasy football through weeks 1 to 3.
He's probably more of a big blocking guy. They've got Jelani Woods, who obviously they were big hype on, but he got injured before the season started last year and missed the whole season.
I think I would be contradicting myself if I was pitching Bowers to the Jets when he had Conklin getting so many targets for them to not take him, for the Colts to not take Bowers at 15. Again, obviously not going to repeat his talent, but I just think if he falls there, then you start to think Anthony Richardson's coming back. Any rookie who's had a season-ending injury is going to be a little bit shaky. So to get them another security blanket there in the passing game, along with your likes of Pittman, I think it would make sense. So yeah, lock in Bowers. But if that happens, well, might be looking at him in Dynasty in our league. We'll avoid having more than one Colt on my team.
Right, let's move on to the number 16 pick, the Seattle Seahawks. Adam, you're on the clock. Where are you going to go with this one?
Yeah, I think it's O-line, D-line again, personally, of when it comes to the Seahawks. It's a difficult one. Obviously, I think because you can go either way, I think you go with probably what I would consider the talent, given the fact that Fuanga's gone and so has Fashanu. We've only got Fatanu left. when it comes to the top offensive tackles. But for me, there's one guy out there who I think is a real difference maker. I think he's the best edge rusher in the whole class, and that is Liatu Latu. So I think that he would be very good for the Seattle Seahawks.
Can't disagree. I think he is great. Just like Fatanu there, because he obviously was at the Huskies. They'll know him very well. Ryan Grubb's there, so they might like what they see. But they do have two good tackles. They have a good right tackle and left tackle, don't they? Charles Cross and Abraham Lucas, don't they? But yeah, Liatu Latu there would be insane.
That's a really good pick there. Really, really good pick. Move on to 17, Jacksonville Jaguars. That is my pick. I'm going to be really honest. I was like, oh, damn, Sky's going to take Terry and Arnold for the Colts and completely forgot that Brock was still on the board. So I was like, oh, no, what am I going to do? Because I was like quite sure that. And so I'm going to go corner again with my pick. And I'm going to go Terry and Arnold. Again, some people could argue he's the best corner in this draft. I think this team is getting more and more complete. You could, like I say, you've got O-line on the board there with Fatanu. I mean, I think they're all sorted there with what they've got. Their edge rushers you could take an edge rush here. Their edge rushers are both great. They've just re-signed Josh Allen to a huge deal. You look at their cornerbacks, Tyson Campbell, Ronald Darby. I think when you get an opportunity with Terron Arnold at this point here, the Bama boy, he's going to fit in really well with this Jags team. So I'm going to take him here. Let's move on to 18 with Cincinnati Bengals. On to Andrew again.
I think Brock Bowers might falter here. I think there's a good possibility this could be where he lands, and they definitely need help at tight end as well. So I think me and Adam had Brock Bowers going here in our one we did prior. Outside of that, obviously, every year we say they need to look after Joe Burrow, but I look at their O-line and see Orlando Brown. They've got Trent Brown, Alex Kappa, Ted Karras, Volson. It's not horrendous. It's not Carmen Jackson they brought in from Clemson. So I think they've got the guys there. They've got a couple of youngsters as well coming through. You can pick up a little bit later. Can any of you see them going wide receiver? Can you see T. Higgins getting dealt on the day and maybe this being Brian Thomas here from LSU? Maybe he's got a bit of connection with his boys.
I think Higgins has already sort of indicated he's going to stick around, isn't he? I think Ayuk's the guy now for me who might be the top receiver drafted on the night. But yeah, I would say no. If Bowers is there, you're right, he would go, but I don't see them going receiver.
O-line for me. I think this LSU Chase and Burrow weren't there, were they, when Thomas was around?
No.
So, I think this LSU connection's kind of a bit of a smokescreen, really. They've got to protect Burrow, haven't they? That's the most important thing. So.
Let's see who we've got. Well, they've got JC Latham still there. Like him, he can play right tackle and left tackle. Fontenot's still there, isn't he? He can play guard as well. I think that would be the pick. Stick him at guard for a year, see if he can move to tackle. Even though I love JC Latham.
Well, that was like a communal pick there for us. On to 19, the Rams, LA Rams, back to Sky.
I'm glad I'd planned that Latu might go early. I just think Adam might stitch me up with that. So I'm back to plan B again. I just think that sometimes the sports gods, they smile kindly upon you. And in this moment, we know that Aaron Donald's obviously retired, right? I just think that getting Byron Murphy would be a good pick to improve on the defensive side. Obviously, for Longhorns last year, had to look at the stats. 29 tackles, 8.5 for a loss, 5 sacks. I think the Rams, I know people talked about maybe, I've seen some mocks recently, like I saw one with Brian Thomas or offense, and I just thought, why would the Rams go near any offense? I think they're going to address, every team knows, right? If Aaron Donald's retiring, the impact he made on that franchise, they need to address it. So yeah, I'll go with Murphy. I don't know if you guys agree. Do you think that maybe they could look at offense? For me, it's a pure defensive pick, regardless of who's on the board at that point.
I think they would like to go quite hard on O-line at some point in this draft. Again, it's another one that's got an aging quarterback, so I think they might try and address that. I think they might move back, get the picks, and double down on some O-line. I've seen a lot of rumblings that this might be their chance to maybe take a quarterback if the likes of Bo Nix or Penix is still there, that they may take him. Outside of that, I thought Kobe Turner did an absolutely fantastic job and showed that Aaron Donald could move away and step away, and Turner could take that role on. You know, he matched his sack record, didn't he, or something like that, with 9 sacks last year. So I think Kobe Turner did a great job. So I'm not sure whether they go O-line here or not, but I do feel like you're in the fact that they might want to get someone else on that, because obviously they had both of them last year. Adam, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think O-line makes sense. I'm not against Byron Murphy at all. I think it's a very good, good player in a position of as great as Turner was. They are missing someone now at that position, so they could go down that route. I don't think, if they go quarterback, I don't think it'd be Penix. I think it'd be Nix. But I don't think they will. I think they'll keep it going for a bit longer. So yeah, I mean, I don't mind Murphy as a pick. It's O-line, D-line, isn't it? It's the same thing. There's a lot of these teams that are sort of decent teams that are kind of steady in the middle, and they can go either way. So I mean, it's really just dependent on what way you think they're going to go, I think. But yeah, I'm not against it.
Right, chatty Cafes, come on. We're putting Byron Murphy in it to Dolphins then. Is that the one, Sky? Oh, sorry, the Rams, Sky.
He's going to LA.
He's going to LA. I only said the Dolphins because I was going to pick him for the Dolphins, annoyingly. Number 20, the Steelers. My team, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Adam, you're on the clock.
What do you want, O-line or wide receiver? Come on, you know more than me.
I think with how the boards fell, you've got to be looking at either Cooper DeJean or JC Latham for me.
Right, JC Latham. I think O-line is probably your serious need, and also I think because Arthur Smith is now there, the run game is a lot more important. So I do think because of that, O-line is probably more important than corner. However, you do need to get a corner in at some point as well, I reckon.
Yeah, I mean, it depends how much if we are really high on DeJean, then potentially he could go there. But I think JC Latham's a good pick and solid, or Marius Mims. I think either one of them you could get 2 Georgia tackles in 2 years and have them as tandems. Yeah. For the future, which could be cool for our future star quarterback Justin Fields, obviously. On to my pick, number 21, the Miami Dolphins. Yeah, and annoyingly, I was gonna go for Byron Murphy, and now I'm sort of stuck myself here. For me, it's between Jazar Newton or Chop Robinson. I knew Newton's had his problems, but I've seen in recent mocks that doesn't seem amongst the analysts to be affecting him. I think a lot of people have had problems going into the NFL draft before, and it's sort of just not been a problem for a lot of teams. I think it's definitely got to be defensive line. It's got to be. Chop Robinson, I know a lot of people are high on him, but then some people think he'd go into the second. It just really depends about what the franchise thinks. I think McDaniel's a bit of a guy where he can. He's a personality guy and thinks that he can bring guys in and keep them on the straight and narrow and stuff like that. So I'm going to go for Jazar Newton, the interior defensive lineman out of which I cannot remember the school now for the life of me. Out of Illinois. They've got to find that Christian Wilkins replacement. He was a massive, massive part of their defense, and this is the guy that's going to do it. Me and
Adam have said that all along, that they need to address that. Defense is what let them down all last year. They've let Wilkins walk out the building. They need to replace it. But for some reason, everyone's got Jackson Powell-Johnson locked in here, haven't they? I know keeping Tua from getting concussions obviously a need as well. But
I think everyone's got O-line. It's really strange.
I think it's if they sign, if Tua gets the big extension, they're going to go, well, we're going to make sure we have people for the future to keep him upright and to counterbalance his history, I suppose. Number 22, the Eagles. Andrew, on to you, picking for an NFC divisional rival for you.
Lovely. Well, everyone said, well, Adam will bang on about it time and time again, how bad they were at cornerback last year and how they got beaten. But, you know, I don't believe that Slay and Bradbury turned bad overnight and they're going to be horrendous again. And I did address that they had Eli Ricks and Keely Ringo as well, didn't they? The rookies last year waiting in the wings. Maybe they needed like 18 months to settle in. I don't know. So I've seen a lot of people put tackle in here as well, that trying to find. Adam, why are you looking at me like that?
If you pick like a player for my next pick, I'm going to kill you.
I do think Emeritus Mims would be perfect for them
I wrote this down.
because I think he needs a year. I think he needs to learn. You know, everyone knows that Emeritus Mims could be incredible. He's an absolute monster and a beast, but he just hasn't had much time on the field, and he won't need to have instant time on the field if he went to the Eagles. So I do like that pick, but maybe that's just me that likes that. So I think. Wait, are you not wanting me to take Cooper DeJean? Is that what you're saying? Or you don't want to take Mims?
No, you carry on. You carry on.
I want you to take Mims, and that was my guess actually at this pick, because you spoke last. I know we'd spoke about you not thinking that the secondary was as bad as people made out.
What's the census? Does everybody else think they go cornerback here?
Yes.
I think so, yeah.
No,
I think they trade up.
I'm actually sold on the O-line.
I think they trade up with a team like the Jags.
The thing is, Mims
Take
is like,
corner.
since Andrew mentioned Mims last week, I just look like he's like 6'8", like he's an absolute beast. And we know that the Eagles love to run the ball. And you've got Barkley now, and even like Andrew said, if he sits for a year or he has to learn for a bit and steps in for an injury, it just seems like if he's on the board at that point, it'd be silly for them not to.
I want to work a narrative where Cooper DeJean lands at the Patriots, because I think that's where he goes. And I think Mims probably goes to the Cowboys. So that would mean that Nate Wiggins goes to the Eagles. What do we think?
Well, it's whether the Eagles prefer Nate or DeJean. What do you think that Howie would prefer?
DeJean's had his injury woes, but he is fit and he's good to go. I can't have them having Cooper DeJean.
Don't, because well, I didn't foresee him falling, to be honest, past the Steelers.
Sorry, Adam, he's gone.
He's gone. Cooper DeJean off to Philadelphia. 23, the Vikings. Sky, you're on the clock for the second pick. Their first pick, we had them taking JJ McCarthy.
I have lost both people that I had here, so I just need to collect my thoughts, really. It's because Freddie has stitched me right up here. I had Newton. I thought he was a perfect fit for Brian Flores for the Vikings defense, but I guess if we look at the corners, we know that secondary has been an issue for them, right? So if I was picking out of who's left, the Clemson guy's Wiggins, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that at this point, if I was general managing for them, from what I've seen, he's been a good fit, and you probably would just sort of have to suck it up and say, oh, DeJean's gone. Let's get someone else in who, you know, from what I've seen, is still capable of being a ball hawk and making a difference on the secondary. So I would go with Wiggins.
Brilliant. Yeah, he's a good player. That's messed up my sort of my end of my picks as well, to be honest with you. So you've got your own back. Number 24, Dallas Cowboys on the clock, Adam. I feel like we know your pick already.
Yeah, I think we're going to go for Emeritus Mims. I think that would make a lot of sense. That was what I was worried about. I thought he was going to do something stupid and take him from me. We've said, haven't we, all the way through this, the Cowboys always make a flashy pick. You cannot get any more flashy as an O-line guy than Emeritus Mims. As has been said, he's ginormous and is going to be... I think he needs time to get... He hasn't had a lot of reps in college. He's had a few injuries, but I think with a bit of time, a bit of coaching, I think he'll do really well. I think he'll be exactly the sort of person the Cowboys would love.
onto my pick of 25 with your Green Bay Packers, Adam. I've swiped them up from under your feet. I admit this is like an obvious pick because everyone is mocking this pretty much, and I think it makes sense. It's always going to be it's either always going to be offensive line or defensive line because that's what the Packers always do. So I'm just going to go straight into Graham Barton. Everyone's had him there. I think there's some power to that. I quite like the idea of Jackson Powers Johnson, just as a bit of a out of nowhere one. But no, you both don't believe that.
Graham Barton can play in all 5 positions. It's a no-brainer for the Packers. They can literally just get him in and go in the off-season. Let's just find out which position he fits and just put him there. So it's a no-brainer for them to take Barton over a guy that can play centre and possibly guard. So Barton can play everywhere, all 5.
Oh. Well, that's fantastic for the Packers. I'm sure you'd be happy with that on the night as well, Adam. And we move on to the 26th Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Andrew.
What have I got them taking? Let's have a little look. Why are you always laughing at me, Adam?
You never seem to know what you're doing. That's why.
I just get caught up in the click, and I've got to run all the clicks and things, and then I'm like,
that's it.
And all the players are gone that I didn't expect to have gone as well. So
I've got that problem as well from my last pick.
Kind of throwing me off a bit, but I think they will want some help on the edge, and I think the next best player up is Chop Robinson. I know Adam doesn't like him, but because I think, if you go back, everyone talks about the Michigan-Penn State game, and they talk about the fact that Michigan ran the ball 32 times in a row. That was because Chop Robinson was so good and got so much pressure on JJ McCarthy that they had to change their plans. And that's just, he's a great pass rusher, not as talented in the run game as much, but getting pressure on that quarterback, he's going to be absolutely brilliant. So I think that is a great fit for Tampa.
Brilliant. On to 27 with the Arizona Cardinals. Sky, your pick. They took Marvin Harrison earlier. Where they're going to be looking this time?
Yeah, he set me up perfectly there. I think if you've gone offense that early, it's going to be a defensive pick. And I think Jonathan Gannon sort of had a reputation more so, when he was a coordinator. I think he could sacrifice the run D to if it prevented big plays in the passing game. But I think with that in mind, he sort of needs to look at defensive tackle. And at this point on the board, I would probably go Darius Robinson. I mean, from what I've seen, he seems to have a good combination of length, strength. I haven't watched loads of tape on him, but from what I've seen and sort of the stats are sort of even battling through injuries. I think it's 8.5 sacks in his breakout season. So I like him there as a defensive pick for the Cardinals.
It's just getting worse and worse for Fred. On to 28, the Buffalo Bills. Adam, man, to you. This is actually you've had like nice obvious ones last year.
Hey, when you gave me full spot, I was not unhappy. Let's put it that way. The Bills wide receiver Brian Thomas. There you go.
Do we honestly think he'll still be on the board at 28?
No, probably not. I actually think the Bills could be the team that move forward for him, because I think that there will be a few teams. I think the Ravens are potentially wide receiver. I think the Chiefs are potentially wide receiver. I think the Lions are a sneaky one for potentially wide receiver as well. So no, I think that they'll probably have to move up for him. I think they're going to, because they desperately need to get someone in. So but for this one, Brian Thomas.
If they're unable to move up, and Mitchell's gone. Oh, Thomas is gone. Sorry. Do you think they try a trade for Ayuk?
No.
Possibly, but I don't know. I think I feel like they're in a bit of a transition at the moment, and I think they're probably more likely to want to go younger.
Well, that's gone on to me, on to the 29 with the Detroit Lions. My original pick was Cooper DeJean, so that was, and then it was Chuck Robinson. No, it wasn't. It was Darius Robinson I was going to go for.
You could pick the better edge rusher, of course, who's out there. So
which one's that?
That'd be Jonah Ellis.
Oh, he's not going in the first round, is he?
You're so boring.
It's so hard. You know what it is though? It's hard with Lions because they value the person over everything. They value if they are that sort of guy. But the Kool-Aid's got mix of safety in him, isn't he?
He can play. He's a stud. He can play wherever he wants. He's safety or cornerback. It'll be fine. It was more Terry and Arnold that played more safety. So Kool-Aid out. Lived in his Terry and Arnold lived in Kool-Aid's shadow for the majority of time up until last year.
I think even though they've got a Carlton Davis and a Meek Robinson, they've got Emmanuel Mosley, they've got Brian Branch, of course. I think they've brought in I would maybe think about a defensive line, but they've got Marcus Davenport and DJ Reader in this year, as long as with Aleem McNeil, Onward Zarike is amazing, Aiden Hutchinson. I'm going to go Kool-Aid here. My only negative about this pick is we are not in the room for these interviews with these guys. You can only see what you see in terms of in terms of what they've been like in the media, and you can only hear rumors. So I think this could be like anybody, like in the draft, in the whole of the draft. I think this could be actually anybody because there will be a player that Lions have showed they're not afraid to go and get the guy that they want for their team. And not disregard completely where they are picking. Great to see the Lions picking so low as well, which is obviously very different from what we're usually up to. Back to Andrew with the 30th pick, the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I thought the Lions pick could have been Jackson Power-Johnson as he's still there. I think Glasgow's getting a bit old now, isn't he? So Ragnar was on about retiring, wasn't he? So maybe. The Ravens, they need help in two areas. They need to replace some of the guys they lost maybe on the D-line and wide receiver. I think wide receiver is a need for them. I think A.D. Mitchell's still there. I think he offers them something they haven't really got. Obviously, will complement Zay Flowers very well. It kind of reminds me a bit of Worthy and Mitchell at Texas, that kind of 1-2 duo there. So I think it'd fit in quite nice. So I think, it's a bit of a luxury pick. A lot of the best interior and edges have already gone. So A.D. Mitchell for me makes perfect sense.
A.D. Mitchell of Texas. Yeah, I think they're going to be looking in them areas. You're completely right there. It's a bit of a shame. I think the Chiefs may be looking at that A.D. Mitchell pick and thinking they could have slipped and got him there. On to San Francisco 49ers 31st pick with Sky, the penultimate pick. Who are you going to go for, Sky?
Last week, I know when I sent a mock-in I'd done, I always mispronounce his name, Michigan corner, Mike.
Sainrisdrill.
Yeah, that was, yeah.
You got him going in the first.
Yeah, I know. I had a thing. I know you'd said it and you pre-warned me. So when this Ayuk news come out about him being traded, I did look a bit deeper. And obviously, I know he's not one of the most important players on their offense. For example, Juwan Jennings is going to be a free agent in 2025. Debo's probably going to get to a point where as explosive of a playmaker he is, we know it's a cutthroat league and could be cut there. So I'm thinking in the scenario that I've thought in my head, Lad McConkey ran a 4.39, returns punts. Shanahan loves versatile players. The more I think about it, I wouldn't be shocked. And I think he has a talent to go in the first.
Juwan Jennings not going to get to play anymore. Do you not think do I have many times I have to say his name? Do we not think Jackson Powers-Johnson would be good there?
It's kind of funny that I've just gone past over him so much because
John Feliciano's
I had him go to the Seahawks at 16, but I've just passed on him like 2 or 3 times since then. So I just think, we know. I think.
The center's 31, the guards 30.
I'm worried about the Niners with a Super Bowl hangover, and I think as much as that everyone talks about their offense, I think they need to inject some young life there because everyone talked about Kittle, McCaffrey, these guys, it being a redemption or their one shot, that revenge against the Chiefs. These guys, I think you need a young guy in there who's going to make an impact. So I just like as a fit, we all spoke about which team at the pick who they like. Fit-wise, I think McConkey would be a good fit for Shanahan.
Sticking with Lad McConkey at 31. Even though suggestions being thrown at Sky, none of them stuck on the wall, did they? And the last pick, number 32, the Kansas City Chiefs. Adam, you take it away, my friend.
I think there's two options for them. I think they can go corner, given the fact that the guy who I always forget that went to the Titans, what's his name?
Sneed.
The fact that he's gone, I think that corner is a need for them. And then the other need, I think, is wide receiver. We don't know, although we don't think that Rashee Rice is going to get a big ban. We do think that there might be some time missed. Obviously, they brought in Marquise Brown, but, it's not fantastic. So I do think they probably need to look at another wide receiver. Maybe a bigger body guy like Adonai Mitchell would have been good, but obviously he's gone. I'm going to stick with what I've been saying all along with when it comes to wide receiver. I think they go Troy Franklin. He's a good wide receiver, and I think he's definitely first round worthy. I do think they're also a candidate to trade up for a wide receiver as well if they're worried that they might try and get above the likes of the Ravens and possibly the Bills if they don't trade as well. But yeah, I'm going to go for Troy Franklin.
Are we not maybe thinking, I don't know if it's too early, but the speed of Worthy, roll back the years?
No, we're definitely not thinking about the speed of Worthy. We're going for Troy Franklin.
But you talk down about Marquise Brown and he's there for the speed. So if you don't like him, they need some speed, no?
No, we want Troy Franklin. There we go. We're going to go for a first round talent rather than someone who can run quickly.
So Marquise Brown's more of an over the top guy.
Yeah.
What you saying? Franklin's going to do the same, or you think he's more in the slot, get it in his hands?
I think he's probably more going to be in the slot for now. Brown's contract is basically a 1-year deal, and it wouldn't surprise me if then that changed afterwards.
Well, that concludes our mock draft. Might as well lock that in and there will pop up. Any notable exclusions? I know Jackson Powers-Johnson is definitely going to be a notable exclusions from that first round. Is there anyone else we're a bit surprised slipped out of that first round? Just quickly with 3 minutes on the clock.
One set.
I'm going to stick with Worthy simply because I agree with Adam. I'm not saying he is a first round talent, but people fall in love with these combine big stories. And I've seen him, on mocks going to the Chiefs, to potentially the Dolphins. The league is so offense heavy now. And I think a receiver with that speed, even though he might not, I agree that he probably shouldn't be going in the first. Someone might go, oh, yeah, well, why not take a chance on him? So I guess that's just an initial devil's advocate I'm throwing out.
I don't think there's anyone missing too much. I think it's pretty close. I'm not completely sold on the edge rushers towards the end of the draft. Either of them. I'm not completely sold on them being considered first round talents, but I think that they're good players. I just not sure that they would necessarily go there. But apart from that, I think that the players that are there are very much the ones that we reckon are probably going to be in the first round.
Yeah, I think maybe some of the O-line guys that, people value that quite high might sneak up there. Maybe a Tyler Guyton sneaks into the first round at the back end. But other than that, I think we've got all the right names in there. I don't think there's anybody particularly missing. I do think there's a chance that, we do see Penix go in the first round. Maybe someone moves up from the second into the bottom end of the first and takes Penix. So I do think there's a chance that we get all 6 quarterbacks on day one.
There's definitely going to be a strong possibility. And obviously having no trades does make it a little unrealistic, maybe, because we feel like that, trades year on year now at the minute have been getting more frequent, which is always good fun as well. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Sky. Thank you, Adam, for doing the draft. Thank you for people watching and for listening. If you weren't watching the YouTube, make sure you find us on all social media channels and YouTube as well. Like and subscribe, and we'll also be putting some clips out as well of this episode. I hope you enjoy the draft. It is on Thursday night. I think it's Friday morning, 1 a.m. I believe it starts going into the morning. So if you haven't booked off Friday too late, you're gonna have to catch up on Friday. Hopefully it'll be a lot of fun, and good luck to all your teams as well. Until then, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you all soon, and have a good draft and a good week.